Good evening or good afternoon, depending upon your time zone. My name is Tanya Powell, and I'm the artist for this channel. And I have been painting small beginner projects to kind of encourage people that are new to watercolor to learn some new techniques and to kind of further dive into watercolor painting. This painting, however, is an abstract, and I have written a book and I do teach classes, and I am always asked about abstract. How do you do abstract? And so this video is going to be, we're going to try to recreate this painting that I did. I think it's like 2 years ago I did this painting. So this is called Wave Uptick. And I wanted to do, I live close to the ocean, and I wanted to do an ocean themed watercolor painting abstract. So this is our goal. One of the things that every watercolor artist needs is really good paper. And you can use different types of materials, different kinds of paints, different kinds of brushes, but you really do need a really nice paper. This paper is Master's Touch Hobby Lobby. This is 18 by 24 watercolor cold press, so it has a texture, on the surface. This is 140 pounds. So this is our paper we're going to be using today. So I've got a sheet pulled out, and if you've watched some of my videos before, you know that I use a gator board. And this particular gator board, because my paper is so large, is a piece of foam core. And this is available. I believe I bought that at Dollar Tree, actually. I have my drafters tape, and this came from Amazon. See if I can find the edge on this. No, maybe not. I don't know. Let's see. But we're going to tape this paper down because we're going to be moving it around. And there we go. We're going to be moving it around. So I'm going to pull off a pretty good amount. And I am not using a border for this project because this painting is going to be matted and framed. So I'm not necessarily worrying about creating a border, but if you wanted to create a border, you would, of course, use more tape, probably double row of this, or just buy wider tape and create a nice border inside your painting. Or you could even mark off lines inside your painting, so you can't, when you do mat it, that the painting is going to be smaller than the mat opening. Or just use different size paper. I've had people asking about doing abstract work, and I have had people ask about doing larger paintings. So I'm going to share with you my brush creation. So as you can see, this is kind of, like literally a creation I have put together. This is a large paint stir stick right here. And then I have really, really wide brushes here. They're flat. These are the inexpensive brushes that you can buy. I duct taped to my paint stir stick. Okay, so this is what I've got here, and I need and you can see they're a little bit different, and it's not perfect. This one is a little bit taller. These are a little different. They're not the same exact brush. You can experiment and see what you can come up with. Today, the colors that we're going to be using for our project are colors that I don't necessarily have added into my normal palette that I use. And this is a porcelain plate, which porcelain is great as a palette for any kind of paint, actually. But for our project today, I'm making 3 really big puddles of paint. And this color is manganese blue hue. I'm sorry, this is in the middle. Manganese blue hue in the middle here. And then I've got on the right-hand side, this is aqua green. And this reminds me of water. And then on this side over here, this is cobalt turquoise. And so I am liberally getting the paint. I'm going to show you how I make a puddle. So this is my little side palette that I use, and I am putting a fair amount of paint in here. I did spray this down so it had to still get wet and get activated, okay? And then I'm going to add some more water in here. So we want a pretty good puddle. I've got 3 different colors, and then we can always add in anything else that you want to add in from your palette. I just picked 3 that I thought were very reminiscent of ocean and water, and I really enjoy working with those colors. So let's see what we got here. So our wave uptick example was a vertical project. This project, I'm going to work horizontal, mainly because I want you to be able to see, and the camera angle that I have going on. So we're going to work with this direction. Okay, so I have my little brush, and I'm going to spray my brush. This is my water bottle, and I'm just going to spray the bristles. I'm going to do it off camera so I don't get it on my paper. And this will go ahead and jumpstart our project a little bit. So you might be able to see that I have a little bit of water on here. And then I'm going to use, you can use either way. You can hold it in the middle. You can hold it by the handles, however you need a grip. So, but I'm just going to hold it here. I'm going to put my brush into the paint. And I've got 3 colors that I'm working on my palette. I'm going to work into this project. So I'm going to try to make this a fluid motion. I'm going to start off the paper, and I'm going to come in. I'm going to come over here. And these brushes take a fair amount of abuse. I mean, I'm literally pushing and pulling and tilting and swiping. And you can see we've got a very nice texture going on in the background, and our colors have blended. And so this is what our palette looks like now. So we're definitely gonna run out of paint in a minute. I'm going to let this sit. I'm going to dip in to my palette. I'm going to load up my brush again. And we do have some wet spots still. So, but this paint is thinner, so it has gone on ahead and dried for us. So then I'm going to create some interest. So now my palette, my paint is gone, my puddles are gone. These brushes are very thirsty. Right. So we've got some really interesting things going on. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my paint. Here's my little side palette that I've got. And this color here is Cobalt Turquoise Light. This is Aqua Green. To me, they scream ocean colors. And then I'm adding in this Manganese Blue hue. So I'm going to work out some, I just have my brush. I'm going to work in some of that paint, making some puddles onto my palette again. See what we can come up with. Get us some nice little color going on. So when you see these individual colors on my palette, you see what I mean, where these colors are very ocean themed in my opinion. So yeah. So now I'm going to use, this is my number 10 round, and I'm going to kind of come in. That was using that manganese hue, and make some nice marks. Now I'm going to pick up that cobalt. Let's see if I can scumble. Now I'm just doing water. I'm just going to use some water. Now I'm going to pick up some of that aqua green. I'm going to pick up some water. This is just water now with that paint. Make some shapes that you might see at the ocean. These are some waves. They could be some curly clouds. Just a little bit darker. And you see how the colors are dark, but with watercolor, it dries when it gets lighter. I mean, it gets lighter when it starts drying. So I'm going to add some nice knots. And then I'm going to just take water and introduce it in. I'm going to get some movement with some of those dots that I put in. Now, and I've turned my painting upside down. I'm going to work on it from this direction a little bit. I'm going to change out my brush. This is my little caddy that I keep my brushes in. So I'm going to swap out with a bit of a flat brush. This is just a regular flat brush for any kind of paint. It's not necessarily a watercolor. I'm just scumbling my brush. And I'm getting some really interesting texture here because this is cold pressed paper. So when you drag your paint across, dry brush effect, it picks up, the paint sits on top of those ridges and it creates a dry brush effect. All right. So I'm going to come in here. I have a brush. I have a sponge. This is just a sea sponge. And I'm going to try create a little texture. I'm going to lift up some of the color. See, it's picking up some of the color off. I'm going to leave that here. I kind of like that a little bit. Yeah, I do. All right. I'm going to turn this way. I'm going to pick up some more of that aqua green. This aqua green is such a beautiful, beautiful color. It's so dark too, and it's blending in really well. Okay, now I'm going to come in with my brush. These are waves. Okay. I'm gonna get some more. I'm gonna get some more paint. Oops, get a little carried away there. I'm gonna wiggle this through, create some motion and movement. Alrighty, so this is nice. This is really nice. I love the movement that we have in here. This is so great. So on my regular palette, I have a really dark color that I use quite often, and it is Payne's Gray. So Payne's Gray is a gray, but when you see it in use, it is actually more in the blue family. So right here. So you can see. Now if I incorporate this, that is very, very dark. And honestly, it really wouldn't go with my color scheme that I have going on right now. So I'm going to bypass that color, which I normally use in pretty much every painting I do. And I'm going to instead go, this is my normal palette, I'm going to go for the cerulean blue. So it is close to what we're working on here. So I have a fair amount, and I have a fair amount of water. So I am adding that color. I'm doing some interesting little dots, dashes. So it stands out from our background, but it also blends in. So I'm liking that. Okay. And then if you do get something on that you're not really a fan of, you know, maybe this is a little bit too dark right here, you can always use your paper towel to lift out some of the color. All right. And you know, when you do the dots, when you're doing a painting and you're doing dots like that, you're going to get it on the wall. Unless it's like a red or something, you can, you know, it's watercolor. So you'll be able to wash it off with just, you know, water and just get a wet rag. So I'm just going to kind of turn, see what we have. I really like this here, the way the colors blended, the textures. Looks like right here I picked up some brown off my palette, or somehow I picked up some brown and incorporated that right there. So I'm not really liking that too awful much. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. And I've just got plain water on my brush. And I'm just going to work some of those edges, smooth out some of those edges right here. And instead of having that stark white background of that paper, the water, the paint and the water are kind of pulling in and kind of creating, you know, filling in the background instead of just white. And I'm just using water. This is only water. I'm just going to take that little spot out right there. Okay. So the good thing about this project is it's turned out very, I like it. I like this project. And the good thing is that this is a really great example of watercolor. And as the artist, so my painting here, this painting here, I'm happy with it, and I'm going to be stopping in just a moment. I'm just filling in some of these areas and lifting a little touches here and there. But the great thing about watercolor, doing an abstract painting, is that you are the artist and you know when your project is done. You know when enough is enough. Like, because when you just start, you get to a point and you just keep adding, more is just more. And it doesn't really contribute, you know, any further details, definitions. It doesn't further tell the story, but it just more is more. And so you have to kind of practice and do your best to not overwork your painting. And you as an artist have to do these types of exercises several times so that you can know when you're finished with your job, your painting, and your project. So I'm just kind of adding some interest right there. I think it needed something. All right, so I'm going to turn it around this way a little bit. And I like this, so I'm not going to get anywhere near that, then I could take a chance on having some problems. This little area right here, yeah, I'm not really happy with that. So I'm going to work on this just a little bit. I'm just going to bring in some colors here. And just kind of see. And then I'm just gonna let that go for right now. I'm gonna clean my brush off again, and I'm gonna go over here. I'm just gonna smooth out this paint and lightly touch in here, not too much. I'm gonna leave this white line here. You know, but when you're painting, yours might be a little bit different than mine, so you'll know when it's time to stop for yours. Just clear water right here. Okay. Right. Yeah, I like this, how this little thing going on right here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to call this one good. I really like my brush that I created to rival some of those artists out there that are purchasing a brush that would cost $100. Literally, the brushes that are like this size are about $100. So this is going to take some time to dry, and yeah, so, but I'm going to call this good. I'm going to let this set. I'm going to make sure I sign this, and I'm going to mat this up. I'm going to hang it up, and I hope that you learned some things today. And if you have any questions, just let me know. And if you would like the video and subscribe, I can keep making more content for you. So have a great rest of your day. Thank you.